Hello, everybody. It's Mark here. I just wanted to give you a few tips for dealing with speaking tests. Now, part 3 of the speaking test is later in the exam. That's the end part. It's the interview part where both you and the examiner will talk for about 4 to 5 minutes. There's generally 3 kinds of responses you can give to these questions, and there's typically 2 types of question the IELTS examiner is going to ask. I'm going to start here with what I call the listing questions. Now, these are questions that give you the opportunity to give multiple possible answers. So I want to talk a little bit about that because I see a lot of mistakes that my students make when they answer these questions, and when I was an examiner, the mistakes that IELTS candidates would make. So when I say listing questions, and please remember that is not an IELTS term, that is my term. These are the ways you can answer. These are the types of questions. What can people do to take better care of their health? Right? It implies there's more than one option. What are some things that people can do to relax? Again, the key point here, some things. All right, hopefully your listening is good and you pick up on that S. Or maybe something nice and simple. What are some popular attractions? Again, the S. For tourists, where you live. Now, very commonly what will happen is, let's say on the first question I'll hear, well, people can eat better food. That will make their bodies healthy. And then they finish. And it's not necessarily wrong, but 2 problems with that. One, you're not really extending your idea. And secondly, you're only giving me one answer, and you've been given the opportunity to talk more. One of the biggest problems in the IELTS test is that students give short answers, and they're really not very thoughtful answers. You're not really giving them anything interesting, anything important. So the examiner has to give you a lower score. For a 7, and especially for higher than a 7, but to be getting a 7 or even a 6.5, you must extend your answer. And I'll talk about an activity I actually did today with my students to help them improve that. So again, what are some things people can do to relax? People can sleep. Right? And like, sleeping will give you energy later. Or you might say people can meditate. This will bring them a peaceful mindset. Again, not a wrong answer, but not giving me the best possible answer. We'll take a look at a few IELTS questions. This is from one of those wonderful IELTS test books. All right, and there's a nice example here. Why do you think some people like doing new things? Right? There's some. Why do you think? All right, so it implies there could be more than one answer. What problems can people have when they try new activities for the first time? What problems? So again, the point here is that there's a possibility for more than one. This later questions, the more difficult questions later. What kinds of things do children learn when they are very young? Again, multiple possible answers. Okay, so we're only looking at that type of question today. We'll look at other ones later. So let's take a look at what I did with my students today. Now, first of all, if you get a question like this one here, what can people do to better take care of their health? The first step is just keep it simple, make a list. Now, I'm sure a lot of you will say, first of all, secondly, not wrong, you can do that. I try to avoid that because it's just it just sounds very prepared. So I got my students today to try this. One thing is, another thing is. So keeping it quite simple, take better care of your health, eat properly, and exercise. Okay? So one thing that people can do to take better care of their health is eat properly. Actually, I told my students, don't repeat the question. Just say, one thing is eat healthy. Okay? Then explain that. One thing is eat healthy. If you want, and again, if is the beautiful word here. If is wonderful for explaining. You can do a lot of things with it. If you want to stay healthy, the first thing is that you need your body to have the proper nutrients and minerals which come from healthy foods like fruits and vegetables. If you eat too much junk food, your body will not get that food. Furthermore, junk food usually has more sugar, which means less nutrition and more calories, and that can lead to health problems such as obesity or hypertension or diabetes. So again, the point is explain the answer. One thing is eat healthy. If your body is eating vegetables and fruits, if you're eating vegetables and fruits, your body gets what it needs. Extend the answer. The word if is so useful. If. Then the second point, another is people need exercise. If you want to build your muscles or at least burn any extra energy and build a stronger body, you need to do exercise. It could be cardio exercise, running and walking, or it could be at a gym lifting weights, or it could be sports, playing basketball or soccer. It could be two sports you could do to use up the extra energy. Now, that's the first thing I would say, is just, at least give two things. Now, to extend it, keep that in mind. If, so if. So if we're talking about, taking care of your health and you say eat healthy food, consider the opposite. If people eat junk food, they will consume too many calories with too little nutrition. So if you want to stay healthy, it's important to be careful about what you eat. Again, it's just a nice way to extend the idea. Same with exercise. If you don't exercise, any extra energy will be saved or stored in your body as fat, and this can lead to problems in the future, including heart disease and hypertension. So extending the idea is important, and again, listing one thing is, another is. Another thing you can do, again, to extend the answer a little bit more, and I've written here reject the premise. That's not really appropriate here. Don't worry about that. But just end it with sadly. So again, what can people do to take better care of their health? You've already told me. Then end it. Sadly, I don't think enough people are eating properly. Sadly, I don't think people exercise enough. So I suppose, schools and governments should try to encourage that. Unfortunately, again, use the emotional appeal. Unfortunately, a lot of people just don't consider food as an important part of being healthy. Any answer it is. So again, think about that. What's the rejection of the idea? Eating healthy? Sadly, I don't think a lot of people do this. So again, you're taking that answer, you're extending it. Let's take a look at another question, another possibility. What are some things that people can do to relax? Now, another way you can introduce is the first thing. So if you ask me this question, the first thing that comes to mind is meditation. If you are constantly busy and your mind is constantly distracted by work or by responsibilities, meditation for 20 minutes, relaxing and emptying your mind can bring your mind a lot of peace. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people think that meditation is strange or it's unusual, but I've actually tried it and it helps me to relax quite a lot. Another one, and then we can go on from that. Another thing is exercise. Exercise will, provide a lot of, it'll improve your circulation, it'll bring more oxygen to all parts of your bodies, and that will have a relaxing effect. Apart from that, you should try to reduce the stress in your life. If there's any people or jobs causing you stress, you should be making an effort to remove that from your life. So again, there's a lot of things you can do here, apart from that or otherwise. And then you might also say, again, sadly, I don't think a lot of people take the time to reduce stress in their life, and they just think it's normal. Again, the word sadly really helps you get into new areas. Remember, you're not just trying to say sadly, but you're always trying to think, right? Health, when it comes to stress and physical health, these are two serious problems people have. So we should really, this is a problem. Words like sadly really help us express some of these problems. Finally, excuse me, what are some popular attractions for tourists where you live? All right, so I live in Melbourne, Australia. So I might start here, and again, I'm not, there's no perfect answer here, but I might say, the most popular attraction near Melbourne is the Great Ocean Road. So again, nice simple answer, and then explain it. It's actually about 5 hours outside the city. Actually, it may be more than 5 hours outside the city. But everyone who comes to Melbourne at some point travels to this location. They drive on it for about 5 to 8 hours to get to the 12 Apostles, which is a collection of rocks in the ocean. I should have found a photo for you for that, but we'll leave it at that. Another one might be the Eureka Tower, which is the tallest building in Melbourne. Sadly, I don't think it's that interesting. I'm not really sure why people are so interested in tall buildings. The view is nice, but every city, to me, looks the same from a high-up spot. But I suppose it is interesting to get an idea of what the city looks like from above. So you can see here, again, I'm giving multiple answers. That's the most important thing. Maybe I have another one and I'll say, other than that, a lot of people like to visit St. Kilda. It's a beach down about 20 minutes out of the city. There's a large roller coaster park there and a lot of interesting restaurants. Again, simple answer, but again, making sure I give a lot of explanation and I give more than one answer. Again, let's say someone asks about popular attractions and you live in a city and you think, sadly, I don't think there are any attractions that tourists come to. However, or I suppose. So think about that. Maybe there are some good restaurants that people visit. Maybe there are a few places in the city, like a museum, that people go to. Maybe, your city is not as popular internationally. So you might say, sadly, I don't think a lot of people come here, but I really think they should because there's a lot to do. If I talk about my hometown, which is Vancouver in Canada, I might say, sadly, a lot of people come to Vancouver and they find it boring, but that's because they stay in the city. If you leave the city, you can find beautiful mountains, lakes, and forests. So, if you come to Vancouver, or if someone goes to Vancouver, they actually need to go outside Vancouver to really enjoy the area. All right, I hope that helps a little bit. Again, the most important thing is to extend your ideas. And I've got a few more questions here, right? What are some of the advantages of buying things online rather than in shops? I apologize. I will make this a little bit bigger for you. All right, let's close that. What are some of the reasons people need to travel every day, right? They need to travel to work. They need to go grocery shopping. What can people learn? We talked about this one today. I talked about this extensively with my class. What can people learn from traveling to other countries? And it was really wonderful just talking with my students today. At the beginning, they were all giving these very short and uninteresting answers. And by the end, they were really being thoughtful. Like they were really talking about learning tolerance by visiting other countries. They were discussing, how you can become more creative and inspired by new ideas when you travel to a new country. Reasons people start their own business. A lot of them were talking about this one here. Why do some people start their own business? To make more money. That was kind of the first answer. But as we talked more, they started talking about, it's more fun to be your own boss and it's not fun to work for other people. So if you want more job satisfaction, you should consider starting your own business. Remember, we're talking about the global you. That means all of us. Anyway, have a look at that, you guys. I hope that was helpful to you. Again, if you have the test tomorrow, I hope this helps you. But really, this is a strategy, if you've got a few weeks or a few months to prepare for the speaking test. Really, to give thoughtful answers and to really expand your knowledge, it really takes time. And that's the main thing, right? If you're going to give a good answer to a question like, What can people do to take care of their health? To give a good answer, you have to have good ideas, and you need to think about these things. A lot of my students, not all of them, sorry, but some of them, they've never thought about the food they eat. One of my students in the last 3 weeks, he's really changed. He started eating properly. He started exercising. He started taking care of his health because he realized he could be in danger soon. He's about 25, 26, and, his body is starting to change a little bit. Relaxation, right? A lot of you people, when they're 26, 27, they start to realize stress and responsibility can have a lot of problems on your mental health. Anyway, you guys, I hope that was helpful. It's a nice short video. I apologize. I've been super busy working the last few weeks, last month or two. Just remember, guys, the most important thing, extend your ideas. Don't just give a short answer. And the best way to not give a short answer is just to have a lot of ideas. Learn ideas. Watch TED Talks on TED.com. Read the newspaper. Read international newspapers. The BBC is a wonderful publication for that. And of course, practice. All right? If you're working with your friends, you can have practice sessions for the Ielts test. If your teacher's giving you opportunities, practice. I know a lot of teachers teach these special strategies and techniques for how to answer any question, but really, if you have ideas, you don't need to worry about that, okay? If you're learning these expressions like sadly, it's not just some word to say, but it means an important emotional idea is coming, and that's really what getting a high score in the Ielts test is all about, real ideas, all right? So have fun practicing, you guys. I wish you the best of luck studying for your Ielts tests. And hey, you know what? If you have any ideas to answer any of these questions, put it in the comments, right? Just practice your writing a little bit. I would love to see what you guys can come up with. Have a great day.